Okay, I'm back and front and everywhere in between. So, a resume snippet, I guess, without the details. Uh, why should you listen to me and take what I say seriously? Because I've got 50 years technical computing experience, including programming, um, and I've got a 20-year IT career at the expert level under my belt, and I've had a 25-year plus career as an internet entrepreneur, and I'm a lifelong innovative entrepreneur. So I've always kept an eye on these things. And I'm 65, so um, a lot of what is in my background is even before 50 years ago. So you might want to you might want to say I know a little bit about what I'm talking about. That said, which part do I want to cover? I mean, we're talking about a technological leap that would be, I wanted to say like going to the moon, but not even the moon. We're like Mars, you know. Um, that's how huge it is. So, and I want to develop a 21st century organization. If you don't know what that means, then you might want to watch some of my recordings. So let's get back to brass tacks, so to speak. You want another treat? Here you go. Oh, 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 oh. The new machine. Um, we'll watch some of my other recordings if you want to get background on what I'm talking about, these new machines that I want to create. Imagine 100 years ago, even 200 years ago, and what the innovation of the airplane meant and has brought us. It's that kind of leap forward. Yeah. So, what can we do with it? We can do all kinds of stuff with it. Again, we want to gather up and assess use cases, looking for gold, so to speak, looking for gold dragons. I call them gold dragons. For me, a gold dragon is not just hitting a business that's as good as gold, so to speak, but we're talking a constant income. And so that's what a gold dragon is to me. So, right, I was talking cybersecurity. In Web 3, it's a lot hardened from Web 2.0 cybersecurity. And a lot of that effort being made now because with Web 2.0 and before, your cybersecurity really, aside from honeypots, but coming down to monitoring and being aware, and really all you can do is quickly become aware and do something, block them or shut things down or attack them, go after them. Um, it's a constant warfare between the white hats and the black hats. But with Web3, it's a lot harder for the hackers to do their job. But we may get into even more secure because yes, if they can be aware of the holistic picture and pick out pieces and start tracking and this sort of stuff, yeah, I mean, part of the problem with Web3 is because the smart contracts are viewable by the public, by anybody. It's wide open. So really about all you can do ultimately is make it difficult enough, expensive enough to crack the system that people won't do it. It won't be done. And proxy chains is the next step. So Web3 is probably at least 100,000 times more secure than Web 2.0. But with proxy chains, you can make it 10,000 times more hardened than without proxy chains. And that's because you're not talking IP addresses anymore. You're talking these token addresses. And what a proxy chain is from, I'm reluctant to use the word node. You can use node many places in Web3, and you're saying what you want to say. But okay, well, call them smart agents. Um, and maybe in a nodal fashion. But the point is, as as the smart agents go from one smart agent to another, as will need to be done, there's like a VPN on the edges or in the linkage. So from one smart agent, it gets a VPN treatment that is encryption, decryption, and the receiver. So like the sender encrypts and the receiver decrypts, but in very little amounts and in a chain, very many of them. So say you have 100 smart agents, and we need to start wrapping our brain around that because so many smart agents are going to be used that we're probably talking tens of thousands of smart agents that are working together. Again, we break the limitations of Web 2.0 scalability. But to make that happen, yeah, so you've got 10 smart agents in like a chain or a path or from here, point A to point B. And each step it's being encrypted, decrypted, encrypted, decrypted, encrypted, decrypted. What that means is you can't just get the initial smart contract and you've got everything else. You would have to packet sniff, like with Wireshark or something, every step and probably almost all the steps to be able to solve the puzzle and put things together effectively. I don't know. Maybe you could skip a couple of smart agents because you know what's going on here and you know what's going on here, and what happens in between is no longer important. But the point is, the a big part of hacking is packet sniffing and grabbing it on the path. Again, something that's really open for anyone to read. Um, and that won't be enough to crack my systems. A lot of overhead, yes, but an incredible amount of power. Once again, back to web, I intuitively feel that Web 2 technology has a limit to scalability, and over the next 10, 20 years, we're going to hit it. And that's where this new Web 3 is going to be oh so desirable. And early adopters and those are in the right place at the right time are going to profit hugely. Almost unimaginable profits are possible. Again, if people allow it. If people get scared and greedy and kill it and say, no, we can't do that because, we can't do that. Well, not only are they stupid, but yeah, they're greedy and holding too tight to the 20th century paradigms that are going to die. They already are dying. Can you imagine if the UN, if China um, goes gold back and is dominating over us in the world? Our fiat currency will be like worthless almost immediately. Our whole America, do you think China would like to crash the US economy? Do you think they can do that? We've weakened ourselves to the point, and we're so stupid and ignorant, fearful and greedy. I don't know about guilt. Those three are usually involved in the ills of the world. But those people that aren't going to want it to go. But most of the world's population will want it if they know what it is, if they can see how powerful it is. Yes, that it's going to be more burdensome in the sense of load on the system, but it won't have those inherent scalability limitations, which means that, yeah, it's very expensive, but we can go as big as we want, even more so. And even more so if we crack leaving the silicon electrical requirements behind. There's many ways to implement computing. It doesn't have to be electric driven and using silicon. My whole life has been about silicon thing because the IC chip was invented the year I was born, 1958. And my dad worked for the reason why we lived in Sunnyvale, California, which later became Silicon Valley. But he worked for the first company that implemented the patent of IC chips, Fairchild. Fairchild was the start in like in that what became Silicon Valley. But what we think of Silicon Valley is actually companies that spun off of Fairchild. I doubt people. I don't know if Fairchild's even around anymore. Um, but yeah. In many of these innovations, our family was kind of at the right place at the right time since for 65 years. More, because my dad worked for when TVs and oscilloscopes and stuff came in. One of the first corporate jobs he had when he gave up on his egg farm, which is what he wanted to do. His degree was in agricultural engineering, but he couldn't make it, so he started working for corporations. And the first one was um, maybe RCA. I can't remember the name, but it was one of the first tube manufacturers. And then he went from there. I'm not sure if there was a place in between, but he went to work for IBM. And then he went from IBM to Fairchild, and then he came up here to Seattle for rocket research. When rockets and NASA and space shuttle and all that stuff came in, they did a lot of work for the space shuttle and Boeing. They made the little coupling thing that made the. Have you ever seen on the Boeing 7047 how they have the inflatable slides for people to get out of the plane in a disaster? They did that. That was one of their things. The airbags in cars, they were the innovator of that. Unfortunately, back in the 70s, there was some kind of a problem or something. It took another 10, 20 years for the airbag to become ubiquitous. But I hope they still owned it. I don't know if they sold it off, but again, they were the innovator. They started the whole thing. So, anyhow, my family even has kind of a cool history with these things. And we've always been entrepreneurial. My brother had a pet store chain in the Seattle areas for about 10, 15 years. My mom had a ladies' apparel shop in Issaquah, in Gillum Village, if you know the area. Um, and that's where we got our first computer. Is it was for her to run the, do the accounting and stuff and inventory management for her store. And the rest is history, at least our family history. So it's over 15 minutes. I gotta stop doing